Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you are, whoever you are. I'm super excited to have you again for another episode of The Oliver Perry Show. Today, we have another illustrious guest, and she is a beast in real estate, and I'm going to allow her to give you some of the gems that she's learned along her path, and I'm looking forward to it. Before that, let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I would like to introduce to you Miss Cindy Byler. Cindy, how are you today? How you doing?
Thanks so much for having me.
It's my pleasure and honor. I'm super excited to have you on. Just another one of the great people from the AWAM crew. I'm super excited to have her on. So, Cindy, I'm going to give you a quick 2 seconds. Matter of fact, let's give a quick 2 seconds. I want you to give quick background, and then we're going to hop right into it. We only got 30 minutes, so I want to use every bit of it.
Yes, sir. Okay. My name is Cindy Byler, and we're actually recording on Veterans Day. Hey. I am a real estate investor. I'm also a military spouse. We live in Texas at the moment, but we invest in our hometown area in upstate New York. Our primary method is the BRRRR method. We've been doing this about almost 3 years now. I've learned a lot along the way, but I'm super grateful that this opportunity has ultimately allowed us choices and freedom in what we do. So that's a quick.
I love it. No, that's good. That's good. Down and dirty. All right, so let's get into it. Cindy, what's your mission in the real estate world?
So initially, real estate was more of a means to an end to me.
Okay.
But as I got going, I realized that actually I got a lot of satisfaction from doing it, and
Okay.
my mission sort of morphed along the way. So our mission is to buy houses that are in need of love, or TLC, in our hometown area,
Okay.
and add value to them, usually deep value. And then we find renters who can then appreciate it and help turn the houses into homes. So um, it's just so satisfying to be able to go into your hometown
Mm-hmm.
and take the eyesore of the streets off and provide nice housing for people within our hometown community.
I like it. I like it. That's a smart, smooth, and easy way to make a really true impact, particularly on the hometown. Like, that's something I've been thinking a lot about is how can I go back home? Oh, good grief. How can I go back home and really make an impact on my community there? There's one thing you mentioned that caught me off guard a little bit, and I've never heard. You said your renters appreciate the value. How are the renters appreciated? Because we always hear the appreciation, and you're just kind of sitting on it. But I've never heard anybody use the term renter appreciation. How does that work?
So it's important to me to provide housing that can be appreciated by our tenants.
Right.
I grew up in this hometown. My husband grew up in this hometown. We're high school sweethearts. And I remember the ambiance of the area. It's just a small one stoplight town. And it's so easy to get caught up in feeling unworthy and that you don't have a greater purpose in life and that you don't deserve the nice things.
Right.
And unfortunately, the housing in the area shows that too.
Right.
And so many of the people who live there, sadly, they accept it. And, thankfully, being in the military community and moving all over, I've realized that's not normal, nor is it okay. So I want to go into our hometown and challenge the status quo, raise the standards, and show them it doesn't take a whole lot to turn a house into a home.
Right.
And so, I honestly do have the tenants in mind when we're doing it.
Let me get a pow pow for Cindy out here putting in the work. I love it. That's it's awesome that as you're talking, it always goes back to the community. It always goes back to not you as the owner, but back to your client, who is the renter, right? The person who's the tenant in the property. Because those who are not necessarily taking care of the tenants, it doesn't always pan out well. Matter of fact, it normally doesn't pan out well because the tenant is going to trash the property, is going to destroy the property, and now you're going to be right back at square one. So you focusing on it like that is awesome. With you saying you guys are going to go, your big objective and main mission is to go back home and really lay down an impact. What's the one feeling of that small town, one stoplight town that you, what's the, yeah, how do I put it, how do I ask this question? Give me a second, y'all. Okay, here we go. What's the feeling you want, what's the main feeling you want to bring back to that one stoplight town?
I want to bring back the feeling of worthiness. We have a purpose in what we're doing, and I just want our tenants to feel like they are worthy
Right.
of a nice place to live,
Okay.
no matter their background. So,
So let's go deeper into that. How do you make someone feel worthy of a property that they have? How do you do that?
well, let's just go back to COVID times, right?
Right.
You're stuck in your house and you're looking around and you're thinking, man, this place is so small, or man, this place is too big. It's too much for me. Like, your home is what you're surrounded by every single day.
Absolutely.
And when you walk in, you're going to get this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to feel like this is home. In our hometown, this is another part of it. A lot of people who live there don't have the opportunity to be homeowners.
Right.
I think ultimately we would love to get in, transition our business into a way that, like, we're doing rent to own.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the meantime, we are giving them the chance to make the house a home too. So we want them to own it as well. So, for example, one of our tenants, she grew up Amish,
Okay.
again, going back to the small town, and she loves her plants. And
Wow.
so when we were, doing the bird strategy and making the outside look nice before the appraiser comes, I gave her $100. I'm like, hey, can you go to Home Depot and, pick up some shrubs and some flowers and make a nice little flower bed. I'm telling you, she got out all the rocks. Oh my gosh, it was
She was
beautiful.
ready. That's awesome.
Like, who, not how. I am not the who in that situation
Right.
at all.
Right. Right.
But I tell you what, a lot of people in that community, they're like, that is not the same house. It is gorgeous. And and part of that is the flower beds in the front that my tenant did. It's not like I'm asking her to do the plumbing.
Right.
But when you allow them to have some ownership over the property and have a play in it all, even as something as small as that, they can really feel good about it.
Okay. So it sounds like a lot of it is giving them the opportunity to shine in whatever way, shape, or form you can provide that opportunity in. Right.
Yeah, and then, giving them something to be proud of, not just something that I've created over the last however many months it took to make
Right.
happen,
Right.
but also, they're a part of the journey as well. And it really is everybody coming in. Like, if my tenants aren't paying their rent,
Mm-hmm.
then that money isn't being reinvested into the next property, and it's going to slow things down. So it really is a team effort. Everyone's involved, from the banks to myself to
Right.
my mentors to the tenants. So it all needs to come together.
Now you mentioned earlier the who. You mentioned your who, not how, which tells me a few things. First, it does tell me you're a boss. Most bosses will say, "I need to figure out the who, not the how." Also, it also tells me you're a reader as well. What books have you read that kind of put you on that path to get you where you are now? Because you quoting who, not how, immediately tells me you've read the book. Because
Mm-hmm.
anytime I read a book, I quote things from the book, and it's not even on purpose. It's kind of out of habit. So, what books are you reading that's helped you the most? You feel now?
So I am a huge bookworm. I was a teacher, and if I could be paid to learn for the rest of my life, I would.
Right.
And I kind of feel like I am in this in this journey. So I am constantly reading books, like, taking professional development in, like, it's coming from a fire hydrant.
I love it. I love it.
Actually, I have a retreat this weekend, and I have a whole nook with all my books. So I right now I'm reading a book called Seven Figure Flipping by
Okay.
Bill Allen. Bill Allen is actually a Navy guy. He's kind of like the guy that I aspire to be one day.
Okay.
Literally, he was a pilot in the Navy, and he takes his children for day trips to Disney because he can. But he has a huge heart for giving back to the community as well. In fact, he bought the farmland out behind his house,
Mm-hmm.
and now, like, he spends a lot of his time farming that area and then donating the food to the community. Like,
Wow.
So cool. Anyway, so I'm reading that book right now. I have tons of favorites. Who Not How is definitely at the top of there. And then like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Can't Hurt Me when it comes to doing the hard
Ooh,
things.
David Goggins. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. That's a really good book.
Oh my gosh, David Goggins. As long as you can get past the vulgarity, like there's a really good, strong message.
Yeah,
And
very.
I always recommend the Audible part or the Audible book. So I mean, I could go on and on about my favorites. I'm constantly quoting them because it's sort of what's shaped me and how I practice in business.
I love it. That makes sense though, because this, I mean, what we read and what we expose ourselves to as entrepreneurs, particularly as real estate investors, I know for sure, have a super, what is it? Well, how would I say it? Maybe not super diligent, but it's a very direct effect. That's the word I'm looking for. A very direct effect on us and how we do things, particularly when we take the time to put those things into practice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that in mind, let's go back to the who, not how. What did you take from who, not how, and put it into practice? Who, not how is huge to me when it comes to putting together your team. So, what did you put from who, not how into physical action, and how did it assist you guys in your team?
Absolutely. So I read Who Not How last summer. I was actually in New York getting my hands dirty, trying to do some damage control with code enforcement, and they weren't happy with certain things, in particular our drawing. And so I needed to reach out to an architect or an engineer to make them happy. And so I was like, okay, well, clearly I'm not the who in this situation. This is not where I'm trained. So I remembered that my cousin just graduated architect school, and this was going to give her some experience, and it was definitely a learning experience for her, and we got to go through it together. And she was able to do a way better drawing than I've seen from other people.
Okay.
And then we were able to take that to an engineer who, drew in the firewalls and all that good stuff.
Right.
So I was in tears constantly during that job. It's still going, actually. Right. It's been about a year, almost a year now. But, I had all these obstacles coming at me. And one of the biggest points in that book is if you are experiencing some sort of procrastination, consider that a sign of wisdom to know that you might not be the person for that job, and that's okay. And I realized when I started reaching out to people, that all of a sudden I got momentum. It's like, okay, I don't have to be a one-woman show here. In fact, I shouldn't be. If I am trying to do things that I am not meant to do, I'm holding myself back, but I'm also keeping somebody else from an opportunity.
Wow. That's I never thought of it like that. I never thought of it, the fact that you're keeping someone else from the opportunity to be great in whatever they might be great in. That's interesting. I never thought about that. Okay. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to make that note to self. Okay.
Bookkeeping's not for everybody. That's another who not how thing. And some people just love that. Eat it up. I'm just like,
It's wild to see somebody who loves something that you don't. As soon as they're like, yeah, I love going through the underwriting and figuring out how much money you're gonna make. Man, listen, just tell me what the number is, and we'll go.
Let me help you raise capital. I got that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
That is not my thing.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay. You talked about community, and we're going to go into a little bit a discomfort area, right? We're going to talk a little bit about the brand. So you talked about the community. How are you guys impacting community through because you're doing the real estate investing, you're fixing things up. Are you guys taking other ways of affecting the community? And if so, how does that impact what you guys are doing on the real estate side?
So I actually am active on Facebook. Okay. I'll put that out there. And I do share a lot of what we're doing. And so, I was just in a Clubhouse meeting the other day, and we were talking about how social media impacts our leads and our business and so forth. Absolutely. And, I've been pretty loud about what we do. I used to be a musician, and I had a conductor who always said, if you're going to play a note on that rest, you better play it loud and proud and convince that audience that you meant to play it there. I like it. So I try to take that attitude into real estate investing. And so I've been really loud about what I've been doing since the beginning. And a lot of my high school friends, people in our community have at times reached out to me and said, Cindy, you help motivate me. Like, I know your background. I know what you had to overcome. And it makes me feel like I can take on the day. And I hadn't heard from this person, and I had no idea they followed my content. And that just felt really good. So I guess I serve the community in that way. I really enjoy, if you ever need a cheerleader, reach out to me. I love to lift others up and cheer them on. My husband's in some serious education right now, studying general surgery. And I've been his biggest cheerleader there. Like, if you need a pick me up, reach out. I got you.
That is amazing. So when you said that other people are inspired by you, what I found is, particularly when doing branding and all the stuff that we're doing both on real estate side and social media, that is the one thing that you hear the most often. So many people will say, oh, I watched you and I know you've been doing it for a couple months and I just decided I'm going to do it now. Because, and they mean of course they mean no disrespect when they say it, but because you did it, I know I can do it. Right. So it's one of those cool moments. It's awesome. Go ahead.
That's another thing. Actually, I took on a mentee. Okay. Yeah. And she is from our hometown as well. I went to high school with her, and we've been going for a few months now. And I mean, it was, so another thing from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that I love to apply is looking for win-win situations. So she reached out to me and she asked, like, if I could get on a phone call with her sometime. I'm like, sure. Why don't you go and, read this book, AKA here's the YouTube link. It's free. I'm giving you everything you need, and then get back to me. Okay. Because I've realized I need to protect my time as well. And she did. So she got back to me. So that told me she's an action taker. I'm like, okay, let's do this thing. I'm ready to teach you what I know. And then also I could use an assistant, boots on ground. Right. So, I mean, I'm paying her to do that too, but it's a process. I'm teaching her what I know. I want to have essentially a trained property manager to function in my place. But then also a really cool thing came along. So I quit my job about a year ago. Okay. And I don't have W-2 income anymore. And that's become a little bit of a struggle on the financing side of things with the bank. Right. And so, we usually buy properties with cash, off market. You get a really good deal. But I found a really good deal that was on market. Fortunately, that is a possibility in our community. And I was able to reach out to her and I was like, hey, how's your credit? I got good credit. Don't get me wrong. But I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pitch you. I decided this like 20 minutes ago. I threw this together. I'm going to pitch you on this deal. It could be, not your thing, and that's okay. I think you're going to learn a lot in terms of underwriting. Right. But who knows? We could partner up on this thing. And she actually decided to move forward. Unfortunately, by the time the realtors got back to us, there was already an offer accepted. Right. That's why I love off-market deals, because a lot of the time the ball's in your court. Yeah. So I guess I'm serving the community in that way. I was a teacher prior to real estate investing, and I've realized, I just happen to be teaching my peers now. Not so much little kids.
Round of applause for the teachers and our veterans that are out there. That's once a teacher, Cindy, always a teacher. I don't know any teachers that have ability to avoid teaching. What's really interesting is that we don't always see where we're going as we're going there, if that makes sense. But when you look back and you think now, all the things that you've done in the past have culminated to where you are now. And it's just weird and it's crazy how that kind of works out. You being a teacher, now you're literally teaching somebody who used to go to school with you, who's being taught at the same time you were. It's just mind-blowing concept. But all right, anyway, so let's go ahead, please.
I'm just looking super far ahead. Like, right. I've realized that my mission, it's going to have to be bigger than myself if I truly want to make the impact that I want. And so if I can help train up friends and people in the community to kind of do what I'm doing, like, that is welcome. I wouldn't even call it competition. Like, I'm welcoming it because, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so
wait a second. No, we're not just going to blow by that, Cindy. Say that one more time for the people in the back of the room so they hear it.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so I want to apply that in this situation. I know that there's so much more. I'm just one person, and there needs to be more people involved if we're truly going to make that impact. And so our business is coming to a point where we want to pivot. I don't want to be the hugest landlord. I could probably buy up the half the town if I wanted,
Right.
in due time, but that's not really what I'm going for. So if I could, eventually become a private lender and help people like my mentee get into the game, we're just win, 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 win situation all around.
Let me get a pow pow for Cindy. Man, that's a good quote to remember. That's why I had Cindy say it over for those of you who are watching and listening. That's a good quote to hold on to. Now, you've taken on being a mentor. At one point, you were being mentored, be it by YouTube or wherever else. What's your advice to those who are looking for a mentor right now and finding someone that they want to kind of educate them on? How does one do that?
Well, I think, let me first start off by saying that there are a lot of people out there. I mean, all of us have started from the bottom, right?
Absolutely.
We've had to work our way up. We know and we remember what that was like. And a lot of the successful people that I surround myself with, they want to give back, and they do want to serve others and help them elevate themselves as well. But they've come to realize that sometimes the wealth of knowledge that they're willing to give isn't reciprocated.
Absolutely.
And so when somebody opens up to you and they're willing to share some golden nuggets with you, don't only just take it in, but then take action. And not only take action, but then tell them that you did that thing and how it impacted you, and thank them for their time and investing in you. Right. And that goes so far.
Ooh, Cindy, you hit the nail on the head on that one. Anybody I've talked to that's of a high level as a mentor or is looking at, because even those, let's be honest, everybody can mentor somebody. There's somebody starting from zero right now, and if you're on level 1, you can teach them how to get to level 1. You don't have to be on level 500. But the one thing that I find that most mentors kind of dislike, and it kind of gets on their nerves, and they give you information and you don't do anything with it. It's the first way to get them to not be your mentor. So if you don't want them to be your mentor, let them give you some information and then just don't do nothing with it. It's you hit 100% hit that nail dead on the head. Now, before we go into segments, there is one question that has been itching at me that I wanted to hear your opinion on, or wanted to hear your thought on.
Okay.
Earlier, you were talking about how much it meant to you to hear some of the things you're hearing. What has been the most impactful story to you from the people who are affected by something that you've done?
Wow.
So
you're making me dig deep. One of the most impactful stories.
Yeah, what's the most impactful story for you so far?
Well, man, I'm sure I have a better example than this, but this is what's coming to mind right now.
All right, let's hear it.
I have one particular tenant. She reached out to me towards the beginning of the year, and she was pretty desperate. The housing crisis is crazy right now, and it's so hard to find properties to move into. And I think a lot of that, I've thought about it a lot. You can blame the moratorium. Like, there's a lot of investors out there who'd rather keep their houses empty than sell them, So this has become, and then there's a lot of turnover as well. So there's a lot of empty houses out there that need to be filled, but at the same time, the demand is there. It's crazy. So she reaches out and she's desperate. She's like, I have a 1-year-old child. There's my excuse me, my fiance. Okay. And we're about to be homeless. Like, I need a home. And, obviously I furthered the conversation. I'm not just going to hand over a house. Right. Right.
Here's a freebie.
But, no, anyways, we did decide to rent the property to her, and she had a house to live in. We've been able to, be in communication way better than her prior landlords. We gave her a renovated property way better than she had ever experienced, and definitely, I think it was actually below what she was paying at the other place
Wow. Okay.
in terms of price. And then I was able to buy a duplex this summer, and I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, I know things are a little tight quarters there because that's all I had to offer at the same time. Would you be interested in moving into this property I just purchased? We're going to redo it just like we did the other one. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes. And I think the price went up a little bit because we're going to a bigger property. But so she moved into that. It was a lot of moving in a little bit of time. But now we have her in a home.
Wow.
A home that she can be proud of, a home that she can put her family in and be comfortable. And it's so rewarding to have that kind of back and forth relationship. Like when things go, wrong, as they tend to do with older houses, like she's very patient about it. And she knows that I'm going to get there as soon as I can. Well,
Wow.
I'm in Texas, but somebody will get there as soon as they can. But she's been so thankful. And then I'm trying to decide if I want to share this, but I was able to give back to her just yesterday, actually. Things were getting tight. Christmas is around the corner, and a lot of landlords talk about, should we like take some of the rent off? Should we like give them a free month's rent? Like, she's been amazing.
Right.
And I was able to take some of her rent off, and she was so grateful. And it didn't feel like a lot to me, but I'm telling you, the gratitude was there. And that just, this whole year with this particular tenant, it's just been so rewarding.
I've got no words, Cindy. Like, first of all, why would you hold on to that? You doing that is absolutely amazing. There are very few real estate investors, real estate agents, property managers who would do that for this is the second time out of a good 60, 70 different real estate investors I've heard speak or talk to that have done it. I've only heard it one other time, and that guy went to a whole nother level. He's in DC, I think, and he sent her on vacation. He sent his tenant on vacation, right? But she had been in his property for 27 years. 27 years the lady had been, she had doggone near paid down everything on the house in that 27-year time span. So you taking care of your tenant, again, speaks to exactly what your mission is, to make an impact in the community and to do great things and allow those people to grow, as well as have pride of ownership, like you said. And Cindy, I'm just amazed. Like, it's so good to talk to you about this kind of stuff, particularly when you've had the experiences that you've had. I want to make sure others are able to get to you. So when we do this, after we do this segment, we're going to do that little outro piece, and then we'll go into FAQ. But for now, we're going to go into the segments because I know it's super important now. I want to stick to the format. So
Sure.
First question in the segment is your troop to task. And for those who are watching and listening, a troop to task is when Cindy's going to give you one thing you can do right now to move forward in the real estate investing world. It could be books. It could be jumping off a cliff. It could be kung fu chopping a bamboo tree. I don't know, but we're going to give it to Cindy. We're going to let her decide what it's going to be.
I think the biggest thing, and I think we've talked about this a lot on this episode, is figure out how you can add value, what you can bring to the table. Because in this business, if you put the people first, the money will follow. I think when you first hear that, you could be skeptical and be like, what? I gotta analyze. I gotta figure out my numbers. But I've seen it time and time again. We just got to put the people first. The money will follow. How can you add value? And that's my number one secret to getting all these off-market deals and buying right. And, walking into one house with $44,000 equity right off the bat. You just have to view people on a human level and go from there.
I love it. All right. Next question. Next question is, what question do you wish you were asked more often? And what's the answer to that question?
I wish.
it's a toughie. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. For their sake, honestly, I wish they asked more often, how can I help?
Okay.
Because when you come to the table and you're willing to bring value, it's going to come right back to you. And I think if I myself went out to more people and asked that question as well, and actually I did this just yesterday, then I think we could go a lot farther.
I like it. I think that's absolutely true. What's interesting, I talked to, was it Alex? Can't remember who I talked to last, but when I talked to him, another one of the AWAM crew, and we talked.
Oh, Alex?
No, so it wasn't Alex. It was, who was it? Let me see.
That girl's a powerhouse.
Alex is
shout out Alex.
Yeah,
another
Alex.
military spouse. Hey.
Alex
just another shout out if that's okay. She just signed a deal with Bigger Pockets, and she's
Yeah.
I'm going to shout it from the rooftop. She already shared it. So.
Yeah. Sorry, that's we kind of awesome. We're not breaking news here, but we did put it out, and yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Alex. Alex Brashears is another friend of the podcast, and obviously an AWAM crew member, and she is an animal. And the person who I was thinking of was Mandy McAllister. So I talked to Mandy.
Yes.
And another animal from the AWAM crew. So
she's the leader.
Yeah, she's
the leader of the pack.
She is a beast. She's a beast. And she was saying the exact same thing. What was interesting about her comment was that it was how come to the table with something like an answer to the question as well. Like, hey, how can I help you with your YouTube? How can I help you with your marketing? Whatever it might be. So you saying that is just kind of tapping on the door right again. So for those who are watching and listening, you've heard it twice now. I'm sure you heard it a third time. I think somebody else said it a long time ago. So you've heard it 3 or 4 times. Bring value to the table and be comfortable with, just being honest about what you can and cannot do. You have to be honest and look for that value and provide that value where you can. So
absolutely. And don't count yourself out. You have value to bring. Just dig deep. You can do it.
Absolutely. We said it earlier. As somebody starting from 0, and you can teach them if you're at 1. It's okay. You don't have to be Grant Cardone. You don't have to be Cindy. You don't have to be Mandy. You don't have to be Alex Brashears. You don't have to be Brandon Turner. If you're starting from 1 and somebody's starting from 0, help them get from 0 to 1, because it does a couple things. 1, it reinforces what you know as your knowledge. 2, it forces you to grow, because now you got to look and double check the stuff that you're talking about. You got to try and go to level 2 as you're teaching them on level 0. So, get off my soapbox, ladies and gentlemen, but it is a great thing to be able to help somebody else. So, Cindy, we're going to hop into FAQ, but before we do that, I want to make sure everybody's able to get a hold of you or reach out to you. What's the best ways and platforms to kind of get a hold of you?
Okay, first of all, I am such a millennial. Facebook is the number one way. Reach out to me there. Actually, for time management sake, I recently turned off my notifications. If y'all have not done that, do it. It changes your life. So I'll get back to you when I get back to you. It's usually in a timely manner, but definitely reach out to me there. I am on LinkedIn. That is not so timely, but feel free to reach out there. And then my email address is Cindy Byler, Byler, REI. So Cindy Byler, REI @gmail.com.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Cindy Byler. We're going to say goodbye for this segment, but we want to make sure remember, you're better than you were, but you're not half as good as you're going to be. Me and Cindy are going to get into the FAQs. We'll see you next time. Cindy, say bye before we go.
Bye, y'all.